The ability to back up, move around, and restore WordPress sites is super important for managing a WordPress business. Plugins can make it easy. In this video, you'll migrate the local site you just built into another local WordPress installation. I'll show you a few plugin options that I use for moving WordPress sites around for development and staging. By the end of this video, you will have made a complete and full backup copy of a WordPress site and restored it to another location with a different URL using a free plugin. Let's get started. We're going to be moving the last site that we were working on in the 2014 theme. And if you don't have it open already, make sure that you start MAMP and then go to your URL there, and also go to the admin page and log in. It would also be convenient if you had the start page open in your browser like I do over here from MAMP, so that we can access the database. We'll be using it to access the database. If you're using your SiteGround server, go ahead and log in. You can click My Accounts and then go to the cPanel. And from there, you can scroll down to Files and open up the File Manager. I've done that over here. You can also access the databases by going over here and clicking phpMyAdmin. Let's open the WordPress dashboard and go down to Plugins and click Add New. I've already installed it, as you can see over here, but I'm going to go ahead and recommend that you install this plugin. It's called All-in-One WP Migration. You can do, I searched for it by using the term All-in-One Migration. And I can see it comes up over here. Updated recently, compatible with this latest version of WordPress. More than 100,000 active installations with a lot of good reviews. So I'm confident that I can use that plugin and rely on it into the future. So I've installed it, and then I activated it. And if we go over here under All-in-One, the menu, it's only got a few options. A backups screen that you can see the backups that you've made, and an export and an import screen. If you have that plugin installed and activated, go ahead and roll over the menu and open the export page. It gives you just a few options, and what we're going to do is actually just choose a place to export it to. File will make it save the file on your computer, and then it's preparing to export, and it's going to go through its process, and then we'll be able to download it. That took just a few seconds, somewhere under a minute, and now it gives us the ability to download that file, or we can just close this window and leave that file where it is inside of the WordPress installation. Let's go ahead and download it. It opens on Windows a save file window, and then I'll go up here and take a look. In my downloads folder, it's 69.7 megabytes. I'm going to move it out of my downloads folder and into a folder called brochure site, where I can keep it labeled as a backup of this site. So I'll open up my downloads folder in Windows Explorer along with my desktop here, and I've got that brochure site folder that I created before when we were creating images. So over here I've got the local host brochure site backup file. The type is a WPress file, a file type that they create. So now we need a new fresh WordPress installation to install this backup into. So here's a challenge for you. As long as you have MAMP running, go ahead and move the WordPress core files into a new folder in the MAMP htdocs folder. Create a database. Edit the wp-config.php file in the new WordPress location, and then run the installation script by navigating to WordPress at that new URL. See how you get on. How'd it go? Did you get a new site installed? Well, here's how I would go about doing it. I'm going to go ahead and go to Windows Explorer again, and let's see, I need the latest version of WordPress, which I know I have over here in a folder called WordPress 452. And there's the zip file that I've unzipped, and there are my WordPress core files for 4.5.2. Over here, I'm going to go into my C:\MAMP folder, htdocs, and I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it Migration 3. And you can see that I've tested this through Migration 1 and 2. But in Migration 3, I'm going to place all of these core files. So really, I'm just going to copy them so that I can preserve them over here in my WordPress folder and paste them over here. Now that I have that copied over, I'm going to rename the wp-config-sample file to just wp-config. And then what I've done in Atom, my text editor, my code editor, is I've been able to open up, if you just open up a folder that has files that you want to edit and call it a project folder, if I do that with Migration 3, then it'll show me all those files within Migration 3 that I might want to edit. So if I just click wp-config.php, it's in Migration 3, I can verify that. Now I know I need to put in my database name, username, and password and change the localhost port number. So let's go back to MAMP, to the start page, and we'll create a database. Under Tools, PHP My Admin, or there's a link down here as well. And that'll open up your database. I'll just click New over here, and I'll think of a name just to match the site. I'll use Migration 3 so I know which is which, and I'll hit Create. Now that that database has been created, I know that using MAMP, I'm just going to use those standard login credentials as the database user. So it's going to be Migration 3. The username is root, and the password is root. And I know that the localhost needs a colon and the port number 3306. If you remember, port number's up here, 3306. Or if you're on the MAMP start page, then it's down here, port 3306. I'll go back to the database though. There's nothing else I need to do here, but I'll just take a look at Migration 3. You can see that there's no tables in the database because WordPress needs to run its installation and then it'll populate those tables. So now I think I'm at a point where I can type the URL of my new WordPress installation, localhost/migration3. As long as WordPress can connect to the database, it'll work. It looks like something's wrong. Do you know what it is? Well, when I was editing my file, I put in all my data, but I failed to save it. So by saving it, it's the same thing as FTPing this file back up to the server if I was on a live server. But all I have to do is save that file, and it's in my file structure here for WordPress, and now that should work. So I'll just refresh the page. Now it's connecting to the database. Go through the real fast WordPress installation settings. Great. Hit the login button. I think my browser is going to remember the password because I used the same one for all my localhost installations. There we are. I hope you were able to manage that as well. It always feels good getting a fresh WordPress installation ready and having it nice and clean and ready to start. So I bet you can guess what we do next. That's right, we go over to plugins and we add that same all-in-one plugin to the new installation. I'll click Install Now, activate the plugin, and then all I've got to do is import the file that we exported from the other installation. I'm going to import from a file, and if I go to my desktop again, I can find that brochure site folder. Here's the file. If I just click open, It's starting to import, and I'll pause the video as it does so. Once it's uploaded the file and gone through a couple of import process settings, it'll give you this warning. It's going to overwrite the database, media, plugins, and themes. So you want to make sure that if this wasn't a blank site, or if you were overwriting another site that was live, you'd want to make sure and take a backup of your data before proceeding to the next step. Your data has been imported successfully. Great. And so it gives you one thing you need to do is you have to save your permalinks structure twice. And it'll open a new tab if you do that through that link. And this is something for, at this point, you'll need to log in again with the previous site's credentials if they're not the same. But because this is the new site now, so I've still got the same settings under permalinks, but I've got to save it, and then the plugin recommended that I save it twice. So I'll make sure and do that. This is probably making changes to the htaccess file, which we'll go over in later videos, but that's how we control the redirects of the permalink settings. I could close this, and now that I'm logged in over here on the new site where I changed my permalink settings, I can go and make sure everything is all good. I'm going to right click and open this in a new tab. You can see that I'm at the new URL, migration 3, from over here's the old URL, brochure-site. There's the site. Looks great. One of the things that the plugin does is up here, if you remember, we made this home button in the old site a custom link to the brochure-site URL. And the way we did that under appearance menus was through a custom link and a fixed URL. So if we look under that custom link on the old site, this was the URL. And so at the new site, this has actually been changed over to the new URL. What that tells me is that under appearance menu here, when the plugin made the migration, it actually went into the database and did a search and replace. It looked for any row in any of the tables that had the old URL, and it replaced them with the new URL, making this home button work. So now we've got a complete copy of that original site at a new URL, a whole new WordPress installation, including all the media, the whole database structure, and including all the plugins and the themes. That's an easy way to migrate a site between local hosting and a live host where you're going to be taking the site live for the client. And it's a great way to take a live site and make a backup of it and an exact copy on your local computer to make fundamental changes without breaking the live site. And then when it's done, you can migrate it right back up and overwrite the live site. In this video, you migrated a whole WordPress website from one URL to another. You also reviewed creating a new local WordPress installation by copying files, creating a database, and modifying the wp-config file. Using a free plugin, you were able to make a backup file of the entire site and install it into your new file location. Sweet! In the next video, we use a different plugin called Duplicator to do another site migration using a slightly different method. If the all-in-one WP migration plugin worked for you, feel free to skip the next lesson and move on to manual migration. See you there!